Hello friends, this video on reproductive health part 12 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. STDs. Okay, so now the last thing that we want to discuss under reproductive health is infertility. So we spoke about the scenarios where people become pregnant but they never wanted to be. But on the other side of the story, there are quite a few people who want to become pregnant but they are unable to because of some or the other problem. So that is when we talk about infertility. So what is infertility? It is the inability of a couple to reproduce naturally, to give birth to a young one. So in this case, they want to have a baby, they want to be pregnant, but they are not able to because of, the reasons can be numerous. The cause of not being able to reproduce could be some physical cause. For example, there is some issue with the reproductive tract of the male or the female partner. So something is wrong physically. It could be, the reason could also be some sort of disease. Maybe either of them is suffering from some disease because of which their their reproductive system is not responding the way it should. It could also be some psychological reason, maybe because reproduction also has a lot to do with your psychology. Sometimes if you are under too much of stress, you actually just are too tired to really try for a baby. So in that case, your psychological factors also plays an important role. Sometimes it also happens that a couple is trying to have a baby for quite some time. Now after that, they lose hopes. So you don't have hope, you are full of negative thoughts. So all those things also influence and that makes you not enable of giving birth to a baby. The cause can even be some sort of drugs which you are taking. That drugs can be in the form of some drugs to which you are addicted, or it can be in the form of some medicines which is interfering with your fertility. So the reasons can be numerous, but the thing is, if there are people who they want a baby, they want to enjoy their parenthood, but they are not able to give birth to a young one. Now this is also a very common problem which happens with many of the married couples, and that is why in order to help them, there are quite a few assisted reproductive technologies which help infertile couples to have kids. Now, what do they do? Now, this assisted reproductive technologies are also known as ART. So these are special techniques which assist couples to have children. Now, what sort of techniques are these? Some of the examples of some of the techniques are artificial insemination, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. It is also, in short, it is called ICSI. GIFT, that is gamete intrafallopian transfer. IVF, that is in vitro fertilization. Now this is very common and this has become quite popular these days. So these are some of the techniques which actually helps infertile couples to conceive or to have a baby. Now let us quickly talk about each of these techniques in little more detail so that you get to know what happens in each of these processes, because the names are quite big, so I just can't tell that the names are self-explanatory. So we'll just go through each of these one by one. So let us start with artificial insemination. So what is artificial insemination? Now I already told you the meaning of the word insemination. It means to make the semen, that is the fluid which contains the sperm, the fluid coming out of the penis. So to make the semen enter inside the female reproductive tract, that is called insemination. Now when this insemination is done artificially, that is called artificial insemination. Now the question is where it helps. In which kind of unfertile couples it helps. Now where maybe the men has lower sperm count, that means the sperms which are getting produced, they are very low in number. Now as I said, there are millions of sperms which get produced, right? But not all of them are able to reach the egg. That's because many of them, since they have to travel quite a long distance, so many of them degenerate in between. Many of them turn out to be immobile. So that means you actually need a high sperm count in order that at least one or two of them reach the egg, right? Now, if the man has a very less sperm count, in that case maybe the fusion might not be possible. Men with less motile sperms. Now, if the sperms do not have good motility, so if their flagella is not working properly, their tail, I mean, so in that case they are not much mobile, so they will not be able to move and reach the egg. So in those kind of scenarios, this helps, because in this case what happens, some good quality sperms are actually artificially entered inside the female reproductive tract. It can also help females with unreceptive cervical mucus. Now, sometimes in case of some females, the cervical mucus is very thick, sticky, and it does not readily accept the sperms. That is how it blocks the entry of the sperms. So, in all such cases, artificial insemination can be a help. Now, how it can be a help? Here, sperm directly inserted into the female's cervix or uterus or fallopian tube. So what happens here is, now in the natural process, what will happen? The sperms will enter from here. Now then it will depend on whether the sperms are allowed to enter or not, whether the sperms are motile or not, whether insufficient number of sperms are there or not. All those things matter there. Now when you are actually artificially entering the sperms inside, now when you are doing it artificially, you are basically not an surgery exactly, but you have some device through which you can actually insert it inside. If you want, you can insert it into the fallopian tube somewhere here. If you want, you can insert it in the uterus somewhere here, or you can insert it somewhere here in the cervix. So wherever you want, you can enter it. So now when you are entering it artificially from outside, you can ensure that the sperm is of good quality, right? So that ways you actually can help the female to conceive. So the most common form of artificial insemination is IUI, that is intrauterine insemination, where the sperm is actually inserted into the uterus. Now if you enter it into the uterus, it is like the job is almost done. If you enter it into the fallopian tube, then the sperm actually needs to fertilize, and once it fertilizes with the ovum, and then it will come back to the uterus. Now when you enter it up to the uterus, this is most commonly done because uterus is nearer also, it is not that far as the fallopian tube. So once you make it reach the uterus, later it will manage on its own. It will meet the egg, it will fertilize, and things will be done. Now, it is not necessary that if you do artificial insemination once, you will become pregnant. That is not sure, because again, you are just leaving the sperm inside the uterus. You don't know whether the sperm will really meet the egg or not. So that is again a matter of chance. But at least the chances of being pregnant increases. Now here it is not necessary that the sperm has to be taken from the husband, because since the husband has an issue with the sperm count or the sperm quality, that is why the sperms are being inserted from outside. So a donor is preferred with good quality sperms, and also this procedure has to be done after ovulation, because it is only after ovulation that the egg immediately comes in, and if immediately the sperm reaches, then the chances of fusion are more. Now if quality sperm is not obtained, then the procedure might have to be repeated again the next cycle when the female is ovulating. So this is how artificial insemination is. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.